ADHD is a common behavioral disorder that affects about 10% of school-age children. Kids with ADHD act without thinking, are hyperactive, and have trouble in focusing.
ADHD associated illnesses, they can be comorbid, but ADHD as per se does not affect the medical health. Although if somebody has a vision problem or hearing issues, that can exaggerate the symptoms of inattention and concentration. So the ADHD directly, it does not affect the muscles, although because of the hyperactivity the kids can lose weight, or that is and there are other multiple factors which are involved, and maybe the kid who is very severely hyperactive might not be able to eat well or lose weight, but directly there is no there should be no effect on the medical condition of the body. The strokes in children and grown-ups, they can present the symptoms like ADHD. So that could be also should be taken at a separate and treat the underlying condition or illness. ADHD is not directly linked to developing stroke or any other organic illness, but the organic illness can present symptoms like ADHD.
It is genetic, but there is a lot of environmental factors which play a role in aggravation and expression of attention deficit hyperactive disorder. Now I would like to talk to you about the different presentations. You know, ADHD is a very complex disorder and it's not a checklist disorder. Often parents go up into the internet and they will tick off, is a child like this, like this, like this, but it doesn't work like that because there are many different kinds of ADHD, and 70% of children with ADHD will have a comorbid condition like depression, like mood disorders, so again, or even learning disorders like dyslexia, dyscalculia. So the presenting symptoms will depend upon what the child is suffering from. So you can have kids who are hyperactive, those kids who cannot sit in a chair, who keep walking around the classroom, who are restless, they are constantly playing or rocking their chair, or who are talking. Many hyperactive girls, instead of walking around, will talk, they are chatterboxes. So this is one aspect. But then there is the attention. There are some kids who are daydreamers. So even though they have ADD, they are dreaming, they are staring into space. They may be looking at the teacher, but they are not absorbing anything. So they are daydreaming, they are distracted. Somebody walks outside in the corridor, they get distracted. So kids who are easily distracted. Kids who have difficulty learning. Kids who, they may present like dyslexia. Dyslexia is a reading problem where kids who with normal intelligence cannot read. But kids with ADD can present like dyslexia because obviously all learning requires focus and attention. And what we do know about ADD and ADHD is an executive function deficit. Now what is executive function? Executive function is a prefrontal cortex. It is looking at organization, at attention, at language. So it is like you say, what is more important, playing football or studying for tomorrow's test? The ability to understand that. Is it more important to talk to my friend or the teacher will shout at me? To understand that requires the executive function, which can be a problem in many of these kids.
In people with ADHD, brain chemicals called neurotransmitters are less active in areas of the brain that control attention. Researchers don't know exactly what causes this chemical imbalance, but they think genes may play a role, because ADHD often runs in families.
The children who have ADHD, they have a poor social skills. They cannot sit still. they have a difficulty following the command, they have a difficulty following the cues, there are ways to help them learn the social skills, help them learn to focus or sit better for a brief period of time. They can be helped to train their brain to pay attention and focus. In one of the misconceptions is that the children who are having ADHD, how can they focus on the video games they like? They can play video games for hours but cannot focus on the math subject. Yes, the ADHD children can focus on the activity they like, and this is again what we spoke about, the reward. So this is a reward, this is reward for them. That's why this reward helps them be able to pay more attention and stay focused for longer period of time on the video games. As the reward is minimal or low on the mathematics subject or math homework, that's maybe the reason they cannot focus. If we put some reward system for the homework, for the difficult subjects, when they continuously do that, then we can help them learn this skill to focus on the difficult subjects and to focus on these kind of activities which can be boring. In this way, this kind of skills, when they learn, they can effectively comply with that, and they can make a progress in the school and the other areas of functioning.
I'd like to talk more about treatment of ADHD. I did mention earlier that medication is the main anchor or cornerstone of treatment, at least as judged by research and medical professionals. There are two kinds of medicines. One is for the comorbid conditions. So we must treat things like anxiety, depression and all first, and then we must treat the ADHD. The ADHD medication, there are again two types. There's the stimulant and the non-stimulant. And again, both can be used. One takes longer to start acting and one acts immediately. One is a controlled drug and the other is not controlled.
You can treat the symptoms of adult ADHD with medications, counseling, or both. You'll work with your doctor to figure out what's best for you.
Well, by and large, ADHD medications are quite safe. There are sometimes we see appetite suppression or sleep problems. And of course, in the stimulant kind of medications, the methylphenidate based medications, they last only for a few hours, anywhere from 3 to 4 hours, or maybe depending upon the type, 10 to 12 hours, and then the effect is gone. Whilst the other one lasts for 24 hours, but it takes longer to start acting, and it may not be as strong as the other one. There is a very slight, almost 1 in a million chance of a liver problem, but like I said, overall medications are safe. But does it cure ADHD? That is up for grabs, because we know that once if you stop the medication, the child may again go back to being impulsive, hasty, etc.
There is a lot of research going on to improve the early detection and treatment management of ADHD. There is a global ADHD working group which is looking into different treatment modalities and as well as the early detection, like genome studies, the genetics, the potentially children who can have ADHD in the later part of life, detecting through the genomes. But it will take, of course, it is the future thing which can happen once the genome is ready. It might be helpful to detect the children who are potentially will have ADHD in future. So early detection and early treatment, along with the behavioral modification plan, if the need of use of the medication, it can improve the people's life in general.
Preventing all the complications, school failure, behavioral problems, comorbid conditions. So we are avoiding those. We are helping the child to improve scholastically and academically. And so even when we stop medications, it doesn't mean that they're back in that same place. And we do evaluate every couple of years to see whether the medication needs to continue or not. And as long as they are studying, maybe they do need medications even during university and all. But again, it's case to case. Now, many new research is showing other modalities of treatment like mindfulness and meditation. It has shown that if you do mindfulness and meditation well, it improves even in the fMRI, the area which is focused on attention in the brain. It improves brain functioning. So that is another form of treatment. And also mindfulness meditation helps the parents to calm down because it's done for the whole family. They need to learn how to deal with the child, and so it helps them more. There is something called neurofeedback or HEG, where you increase the blood flow to the prefrontal area by helping the child to focus on certain games, and with the help of their focus they can make the game move forward. It sounds very high tech and all, but it's quite useful. And over 40 sessions, if the child has to wear a band and play a game, but there is no connection to the game console, it's only the brain waves, as it were. So neurofeedback is another form of treatment as well. There is a lot of work being done on diet. We know that many ADHD kids may have zinc deficiency, iron deficiency, they may have omega-3 or cholesterol, low cholesterol. So we need to help to make the diet better. We know that cow milk allergy and gluten allergy can cause attention problems, and so maybe putting the child on a gluten-free, casein-free diet can help. Taking the child off colored foods and all that may help. So there are a variety of treatments, but still I'd like to say that as far as medication goes, it's one of the cornerstones of treatment.
Diet-wise, in the ADHD, the children who are having ADHD, high protein diet is usually helpful, especially in the morning, like eggs, nuts, cheese may be given. The low carbohydrate diet is helpful. In some studies show the sugar can increase the hyperactivity, and hence it can cause inattention or concentration issue. But there are other studies which show that the refined sugar did not have much effect. So this is still controversial, but obviously it is wise to limit the refined sugar intake, and there should be a balanced diet which is helpful for the children who are having ADHD or otherwise. So this will be.
There's no clear scientific evidence that ADHD is caused by diet or nutritional problems. But certain foods may play at least some role in affecting symptoms in a small group of people.
The brain itself is a very hugely complex organ in the body. It has millions of neurons. The neurons are the cell bodies which communicate with each other and give the informations like seeing things, hearing things, smelling, talking, language, motor function, executive functioning, memory, eating, sex, pleasure, punishment feeling. All these things are communicated each part of the brain through the neurotransmitters. The examples of the neurotransmitter, as we know, are the dopamine, norepinephrine, serotonin, GABA, gamma-aminobutyric acid, glutamate, and so on and so forth. So there is a delicate balance between these chemicals in order for the proper functioning of the brain.
There's not much research yet into the careers where people with ADHD are likely to thrive. A person with ADHD can pursue almost any career that interests them.
For the parents, it might be a dilemma there is a lot of information on the internet, TV and everywhere, and sometimes all the parents are not very well aware of the different conditions and different symptoms and illnesses. So it can be sometimes overwhelming and frustrating to the parents if the child is having some difficulties. So the general suggestion is, please not try to make diagnosis by yourself. If you see something different in your child, you need to make a note of it, and you have to ask the mental health professional regarding the condition or regarding the situation, and take their advice instead of making the self-judgment, because you cannot diagnose by yourself like somebody is having a ADHD or not. The other important thing is, there will be a lot of children who will be a little bit hyperactive, but in a certain specific timing, not all the time. So that is not ADHD either. So they are doing well academically, they are doing fine in the peer groups, they are okay at home, but in one isolated or two isolated or few isolated incidences when they were very happy or excited, this is okay to be like that. As we said before, for the diagnosis, the hyperactivity, inattention and concentration, this should be across the board. It is all the places, school, home, playground, in the mall, wherever. And also if it starts affecting the 3 different areas of life because of the hyperactivity, inattention and concentration issue, they affect somebody's academic performance, they affect the social interaction, they affect the relationship or the work situation. Then only we say, okay, this is the diagnostic criteria to fulfill for somebody having a ADHD. So for the parents in general, this is advisable if they see something difficult and which is affecting their social life, their academic life, they better consult with the mental health professional and ask their advice on that particular area.
So ADHD, these people can be very creative, very artistic. Some of them actually speak very well, but some of them may have language problems. In fact, 30 to 40% of these kids may have language difficulties. And it's not just talking, but they may have difficulty with word retrieval. That means they know the word, but they can't get it out. Or more commonly, they have something called listening comprehension problems. Means what? That they can talk very well, but they don't understand what they hear. And this is a big problem in the classroom, because in the classroom, when the teacher is talking and the child doesn't understand what the teacher is saying, he will obviously become more dysfunctional, more disruptive and fidgety. So it's important to understand the impact of ADHD on language and learning. So a child with ADHD can also have behavioral issues, may not have behavioral issues. A child with ADHD may have learning issues. He may be very intelligent but may not be able to cope, may not learn to read easily. One of the commonest things I have seen in my practice is dysgraphia. Many kids with ADHD have difficulty writing. And why is that? Because writing requires a lot of attention. It's not just fine motor control. It is your organization and focus and attention to be able to think of something and put it on paper. Many of these kids have difficulty copying from the blackboard. So the teacher is writing something and the child has to copy. It's very hard for them. They jump, and this also is reflected when they read. So if they're reading something, instead of going line by line, they may skip lines, skip words, and thus end up with having reading comprehension problems.
Statistically, there are different reports. APA, American Psychiatric Association, reports in general population there is a 5% kids who potentially can develop ADHD. The CDC, Center for Disease Control from US, they report differently. Their report is on the average 11% children can have ADHD. The age group group distribution is little bit different. From the age of 4 to 10 is a 7%. From age of 10 to 14, 11%, and from 14 to 17 is usually 10%. In general, it is considered that mild form of ADHD is diagnosed usually around the age of 7, and moderate severity ADHD may be diagnosed around the age of 6, and severe form can be diagnosed as early as 4 years. It may be due to the severity of symptoms, which can be picked up by the parents, caregivers, teachers, and the extended family members, and that could be the reason for the early detection of this kind of condition. So these are the rough estimates about these statistics.
Interestingly, there are many ADD people who are extremely intelligent. There is, people like Tom Cruise, people like John F. Kennedy, people like Einstein, people like Thomas Edison. Thomas Edison, the man who discovered the light bulb, was so hyperactive, and he was actually also dyslexic, that they threw him out of school at the age of 12. But his father never gave up on him, and he took him into his garage, tutored him, and of course, rest is history. As you know, he's one man who has so many patents to his name.
Adults with ADHD don't outgrow the condition, but many learn to manage it successfully. Long-term treatment can reduce problems at home and at work, bringing patients closer to their families and their professional goals.